Hello, in this video we will be looking at Bodhicaryavatara, chapter 6, verse 14. न किञ्चिदस्ति तद्वस्तु यदभ्यासस्य दुष्करम् तस्मान् मृदुव्यथाभ्यासात् सोढव्यापि mahavyatha. I'll give it to you again with the text up. Here we are. न किञ्चिदस्ति तद्वस्तु यदभ्यासस्य दुष्करम् तस्मान् मृदुव्यथाभ्यासात् सोढव्यापि mahavyatha. So, na kinchidasti tadvastu. I think that's a pleonastic construction. In other words, more words are put in the sentence than are necessary to express the meaning fully. Vastu, from the root vas, to exist, or more specifically to dwell, has just come to mean a thing generally. For those of you who know Hindi or the other languages of modern India, the modern Hindi word baat comes from vastu. Baat, very general word meaning a thing, from vastu. So tadvastu, it's, by the way, neuter in Sanskrit but feminine in Hindi. So tadvastu, that thing, na kinchid asti, is not anything. So na asti, it is not. Kinchid, anything. So kim means what, as a question. If you add chit to a question word, it generalizes it to mean like what to something. Kada, when, kadachit, at some time or another. Kah, who, kashchit, someone. So kin, what, kinchid, something, or in a negated sentence, anything. So na kinchid asti, there is not anything. Yed abhyabhyasya dushkaram, which is difficult for practice. This tadvastu, as I say, it's pleonastic. It is not anything, that thing, which is difficult for practice. So, okay, it doesn't add anything to the meaning and could be left out without altering the meaning of this sentence. So there is not anything yed, that has exactly the same effect here as the English relative which. There is nothing which is difficult for practice. Na kinchidasti yed abhyasasya dushkaram. Dushkara, word we've had before from the root kara, root kri, meaning to do, and with the prefixes su and duh in front of it, it makes easy and difficult. So sukaraha, easy, good doing, meaning easy, and dushkara, difficult, so literally bad doing or difficult doing. Cognate with, for the Greek speakers among you, cognate, both words are cognate with the Greek words evkolo and diskolo. They are exactly cognate with sukara and dushkara. So nakinchidasti, there is nothing, yed dushkaram, which is difficult, abhyasasya, abhyasa, practice. This is practice not in the sense of one's spiritual practice, one's spiritual development. The abhyasa, which actually comes from the root as, meaning to throw, Abhyasa, throwing on top of something, throwing something on top, heaping it on, piling it on. The idea is repetitive practice. So the abhyasa is practice in the kind of old-fashioned hard grind sense of repeating something, doing it again and again until you get used to it, until you know it. It's that kind of practice, unlike the bhavana, which was one's general spiritual practice. So nakinchidasti yad, there is nothing which dushkaram is difficult, abhyasasya. Abhyasa practice, abhyasasya, that's the genitive form. Remember, in Sanskrit and in Pali, when we're talking about something that is difficult for somebody or it is pleasant for somebody, we have an adjective and how it is for that person. It's difficult for him, it's pleasant for him, it's easy for him. In English, we use the data for. That's easy for me. It will be pleasant for you. It will be uncomfortable for them. For. In that same place, you use a genitive in Sanskrit and Pali. That accounts for the genitive of abhyasa here. So there is nothing that is difficult for practice. In other words, the meaning here is that there's nothing that is so difficult that by practicing it properly, you won't get it and you won't enable yourself to do it or to overcome it, as the case may be. So, in other words, there's nothing that's difficult provided you keep at it. There's nothing that's difficult if you practice it properly. So literally, there's nothing that's difficult for practicing. Nothing that no difficulty that practicing won't overcome. Tasman mridu vyathabhyasat sodhavyapi mahavyatha. So tasman, it's tasmat. I'm trying to change this. It should be tasmat here in the analysis. It's just the ablative tasmat, from that, meaning therefore, from that, therefore. And the t followed by a m by sandhya becomes an a. So not tasmat mridu becomes tasman mridu. Therefore, abhyasat, ablative, from practicing. Here it's by means of practicing. Mriduvyata, the instrumental could have been used here as well. Abhyas Vyathabhyasena, I would have been equally comfortable seeing the instrumental here. Um, there's a slight difference. Abhyasena, by means of practice. Abhyasat means from practice, as a result of practicing. So there's that slight difference in tone, just as there is possibly a slight difference in tone in expressing them in this way in English, but there's no real difference um, in either language, which way you put it. So mridu, we've seen it means soft or mild from the root mrid, meaning to crush, and the original idea is you have something kind of firm and solid, and you crush it into powder, and it becomes all kind of soft and pliable. And mridu here means slight or not serious. We see the Pali equivalent in the first verse of the Karaniya Metta Sutta. So mudu, one, the person who's practicing this path ought to be mudu, which is the Pali way of saying mridu, meaning soft, not hard edged, but pliable with people, not too self-opinionated and hard. So tasmat, therefore, abhyasat, from the practice or growing accustomed to, repeatedly doing. Remember, abhyasa, the idea of repetition, throwing it on till you get a heap, throwing one thing and then another thing on top. So mriduvyata, from a soft affliction or pain or discomfort. It means a slight pain, a slight discomfort, something that's nasty but not too nasty. This word vyata, um, on the face of it, it kind of looks like a compound of vi plus a ta, but in fact it's not. The root is vyat, which in transliteration Vyath, vyat, um, and it just means general kind of pain, affliction, or distress. It can refer to either physical pain or just something nasty that happens to you in life. Is all vyata. So tasmat mridu vyathabhyasat, from practicing or growing accustomed to slight distress, slight discomfort. Surdhavyapi mahavyata, a, a mriduvyata, a slight pain. Mahavyata, a great pain. Even a great pain, surdhavya, is bearable. Um, just going to give you my iPad. Let me call him up for you. There we are. Ooh, there we are. Firstly, the api, sort of vyapi mahavyata. Api, even a great pain becomes bearable. Um, api normally follows the noun or noun phrase to which it most closely relates, just as in English it goes. In English we can do it both. A great pain, even a great pain. Um, in Sanskrit, typically api will follow, but it can come before, particularly for requirements of meter. So if we were looking at this, let me give you the text again. If we were looking at this in regular prose, Surdhavyapi Mahavyatha in verse. In regular prose, I would have expected to see something like Mahavyatapi Surdhavya. Mahavyata, a great pain. Api, even. So Mahavyatapi Surdhavya is bearable. This is just a variation in word order in verse. This Surdhavya, it is, from our root saha, which means to endure or to bear. We dealt with it. We dealt with it in the previous verse. You remember these Durga Putraka Karnata, these Durga worshippers of the Karnataka. Vrita Sahante, Vrita willingly, Sahante, they bear, they endure. The future passive participle, to be borne or to be endured or just bearable, endurable, we would want to make it, if it were regular, you'd normally have sah, the root sah, plus the future passive participle ending, tavya. Now, what we've got here, we've got a consonantal H coming into contact with a following the. What typically happens there is the H and the T merge into a D, into a retroflex D. That's the one that's written like that in Devanagari, D. When that happens, you will sometimes get, or I think always get, a vowel change as well. For example, we have our root mu. from which we get our well-known noun moha, most commonly translated as delusion, moha, being deluded as to the reality of things. So you can make a past participle out of that, meaning deluded, somebody who's deluded. What you do, you get mo plus, oops, what have I done here? Plus ta. You get the H plus T becoming a D phenomenon, but you get a lengthening of the vowel in the root. That's why you get mudha, mudha. Now, what happens with sartavya? Um, for instance, to bear, so plus tum, you might expect something like sadhum, and with this vowel lengthening, which is typical of what happens when you get the h followed by a t to make d, previous vowel length, you might have expected sadhum. But no, what in fact happens is the vowel mutates to o, and this is an irregularity. I can't offhand think of any other root in Sanskrit that does this, so we can treat it as a bit of an irregularity. So to bear is sodhum. And by the same token, sahtavya, so sahtum, to bear, to endure, sodhum, sahtavya, bearable or to be borne, to be endured, becomes sodhavya, sodhavya. So it's from that we get here Mahavyatapi Sodhavya. So feminine form, Sodhavya, masculine form, Sodhavya, because Vyata is a feminine noun. Here we are. So Tasmat Mridu Vyatabhyasat, therefore, from the abhyasa, from becoming used to practicing, getting used to it, repeatedly practicing it, repeatedly practicing the mriduvyata, slight pain, slight discomfort. Mahavyatapi, mahavyata api, even the mahavyata, even the great discomfort, a great pain, sordhavya, is bearable, is endurable. So we'll wind up now with another recitation of this. Oops. न किञ्चिदस्ति तद्वस्तु यदभ्यासस्य दुष्करं तस्मान्मृदुव्यथाभ्यासात् सोढव्यापि महाव्यथा. And once more. न किञ्चिदस्ति तद्वस्तु यदभ्यासस्य दुष्करं तस्मान्मृदुव्यथाभ्यासात् सोढव्यापि Mahavyata. And that's it for this video.